All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Deandra Coleman, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. Today's webinar, Doing Business with the Government Workshop, Part 2, is being brought to you by the Shenandoah Valley Small Business Development Center. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia SBDC is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 27 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to the small business in their local communities. Our one-on-one consulting services are available at no charge. For more information or to schedule an appointment, you can reach out to your local office. If you aren't sure where that is, you can find a listing on our website at virginiasbdc.org. Before we get started, I would like to go over a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Because there are so many participants today, you are muted. We will be using the Q&A function, so if you have any questions, please type those in, and we are going to pause intermittently, and our presenter will do her best to answer them. Today's presenter is Courtney Mustin, who conducted the first part of this webinar series. She is the Regional Business Service Manager. She covers Central West region of the Commonwealth for the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. She works with startup, emerging, and established small businesses to implement growth and development by teaching them how to conduct business with Virginia state and local agencies, which require their particular goods and services. She also partners with other entities to cover a vast array of topics to engender success for small business owners. She's been employed by the Commonwealth for 17 years. And now I will go ahead and turn it over to Courtney.
Thank you, Deandra. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to have this many people online. I welcome you. I hope that you will answer the questions in the Q&A about how many of you attended the first session, just so that I know kind of what page you all are on, and then also how many of you are SWAM certified, and also either or registered in EVA, our electronic Virginia marketplace. So in the first session, we covered SWAM certification, and SWAM is an acronym, of course, standing for Small, Women-Owned, and Minority-Owned Companies. We do that certification for you all as a way to give you a more level playing field to compete with larger companies that are ineligible. So we have set-aside programs, and up to $100,000. If the contract is worth in value up to $100,000, there's a set-aside first for micro, which is a very small business that is 25 or fewer employees, and 1.5 million, 3 million a year averaged over 3 years in gross income. I say that's a small company by comparison. I'm talking about the threshold for actual small is huge. The only criterion you have to satisfy there is that you have less than 250 employees. Well, that's quite a stretch from micro, which is 25 or fewer employees, to small, which is less than 250. So the first threshold we have is any contract or purchase order in value that's less than 10,000 is a set aside for a micro certified business. Between 10,000 and 100,000, it's a set aside for small business. And micros are small, and so they can bid on those. But the feeling is that some companies that are considered micro don't have the depth to come out of the gate and take on a $100,000 contract with the state. Over 100,000, there's a requirement for a subcontracting clause in the contract if the prime who's bidding is not themselves certified. If they're ineligible to be certified, then they must give some portion of that contract, which exceeds the value of 100,000, some percentage of it to a certified small business. So there are 3 thresholds where it's very advantageous for you to be certified. And the reason being, the governor has said every state agency must give preference in these 3 price categories or value categories to micro, small, and small subcontracting companies. So while you can bid without being certified, I can assure you that unless you're the only bidder who can do the job and can do it competitively, that is price-wise, they're not going to choose you because they have goals. Every agency has aspirational goals for the year, and they're going to choose a certified company so that that expenditure with that company goes toward their goal. So it's free to be certified. It's not a complicated process, but there are a few steps to it. But you should get certified. So that being said, that was what was covered in the first session. Now we're going to talk about EVA. EVA is the electronic marketplace for Virginia. And I'm going to take you straight there because I don't want to use the PowerPoint that's not right. So this is the home page for EVA. The website is eva.virginia.gov. And I'm going to show you how to navigate EVA and how important it is. You must be registered in EVA if you want to bid on anything. You cannot do business with the state. So you can do business with the state if you're not certified as a SWAM. But in order to bid on anything, to get a purchase order, and to be paid, you have to be registered in EVA. So that is a must. It's also free. It's free to the extent that it doesn't cost anything to sign up. However, if you get a contract, you will owe 1% of the bottom line of that contract to EVA. And that is a fee that we started charging about, I want to say 6 years ago. Prior to that, we were not charging businesses who were registered any fees. The state was covering all the fees. But there is such a wealth of information in EVA, and it's such an expensive ordeal to keep EVA current and to maintain it, to give you the service that it provides. They decided that yes, the vendors could contribute 1% of the contract that they have. However, if you're certified, it's capped at $500 per contract. So if you get a $50,000 contract through EVA, you would owe $500. If you get a $100,000 contract through EVA and you're certified currently, you haven't let it expire, but you're currently certified. Doesn't matter if you were certified yesterday. If you expired last night at midnight, you're no longer certified. So it's very incumbent upon you to keep up your certification. But if you're certified, then you would still only owe $500 because remember I said your fee is capped at $500 per transaction. So if it's a $100,000 contract and you're certified, you're only paying $500. If you're not certified, you'll pay $1,000, excuse me. So with that being said, I just want to go over a few things on the homepage, and I need to get myself out of the way here. Okay. When you go to the homepage, you'll see tabs at the top, business opportunities. This is where you can look for what we call the VBO. They're business opportunities in Virginia. And this lists all the open solicitations. And we'll go over this a little bit. I'm not going deep in the weeds today because we don't have time. And this is an entry-level EVA We do have high level EVA presentations as well. But I just want to show you where things are. So EVA, the Virginia Business Opportunities are here. This is the VIBE stands for Virginia Information Business Exchange. This is a great place where you can post a free ad about your company. Open construction contracts, and these are where future procurements are listed too, to help you decide if you might want to bid on these coming down the pike and what it's going to take for you to prepare your company to, if you have to add people, if you have to add equipment, whether or not you want to do it. So we try very hard to have buyers in the state post these future procurements for vendors who are certified to give them a little advantage on working toward it. Transparency offers you reports. So you can search orders, you can search suppliers and contracts. Public spend reports, we're going to go over that a little bit. This is where all the vendors who are registered in EVA are listed. And we have over close to 100,000 now. Marketplace metrics. This is just some graphs, if you will, about how we spend money in the state on what products and on what ethnicities and on services. If you have a catalog, this is where a vendor can look up, or buyers also can look up something to do with the catalog. These are construction awards, and these are government to government contracts. Statewide contracts. The state, EVA is administered by the Department of General Services. We refer to it as DGS. And DGS has two divisions. They have the Division of Purchases and Supply, that's DPS. And then we have DEB, which is the Division of Engineering and Buildings. So DGS, if you will, think of that as the overarching arm, much like the GSA for the federal government. It's divided into two divisions where they buy products, goods and services. And then DEB takes over all the construction and maintenance of buildings that the state owns within the state. And then we have IT contracts, which is a wholly separate animal. So if you're in IT, you need to go to VITA's website. That's the Virginia Information Technologies Agency. And there's a whole section on their website dedicated to supply chain management. So, okay. How can I get out of these? I need to move. All right. Resources. This is a wonderful tab that I use a lot. First of all, there's a wonderful write-up of EVA. And I know that several of you said you're registered in EVA. But I was telling somebody yesterday, to me, EVA is very much like somebody who's not used to EVA, but somebody who wants to do business with EVA, with the state government, is very much like a student driver who's highly motivated, probably more motivated than even vendors are to get business, because they're teenagers, they want their driver's license, and so they go and they take class for driver's education. And when they get first into the car, if they've never been in one, if you're as old as I am, your parents taught you how to drive. So, and I would pull on them every day after school to go get in the car and drive in the country. But when you first get in, you've got the brakes, the lights, the gas. If you have a straight stick car, you've got a clutch. Now you've got GPS, you've got the heater, you've got so much more than the car I learned on. But you get in and you think, how am I ever going to learn all this stuff? And I'm telling you, teenagers are so highly motivated that probably within 6 weeks, they could be driving with their knees, eating a hamburger and drinking a soda at the same time. And they've got it all down pat, especially the music. Well, that's kind of the way you have to treat EVA if you're serious about doing business with the state. because there is a wealth of information, but I've shown you already several different tabs. And you need to go over these, and you need to go over them not once. I talked to a fellow yesterday and I said, "Are you familiar with EVA?" And he said, "Yes, I was on it 2 or 3 months ago." If you really are serious about wanting to do business with Virginia, you need to keep repeating, practicing. Just take a moment, 15 minutes out of your day, but don't let it go 2 or 3 months before you go back to EVA, because it's like learning all over again. Not quite, but almost. So when I point to this, our story, people say, "Well, I already know about EVA." Well, you may know about EVA, but you need to navigate and what's the word? Surf around EVA, because there is so much, and you don't get it just the first time out of the chute. So here we have Division of Purchases and Supply, and it talks about it. Here we have our department, which is the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. And they put in parentheses, SWAM. That is not our department. It's actually what our department does. We do the certifications. And I want to make the distinction here that my agency, which is the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity, performs the SWAM certification. We review applications and we say yay or nay. You are eligible or you're not. We also perform micro certifications. We also perform disadvantaged business enterprise certifications. And we have several others that may or may not apply to you. But we have a service disabled. Now that is not a certification. That's a designation. In order to be designated as a service disabled company in Virginia, you must be certified as a small business first. And then we we do add on the designation that the owner is also service disabled. Not just straight veterans. Unfortunately, right now, we don't have a designation just because you served in the armed forces. But if you suffered a disability, yes, we do have that designation. So, but that is a totally separate agency. My agency is a totally separate agency from the one that administers EVA. EVA, remember I said, is maintained by the Department of General Services. That's our overarching, it's a department, it's an agency in the state. And it handles it's dedicated to handling procurement issues. And there are lots of them. But one of them is maintaining EVA. So it all works together. Then if you want to look at EVA billing, if you're curious about your billing, the NIGP code lookup is very important. NIGP stands for National Institute of Governmental Purchasing. And it is a standardized code book, much like the NAICS code used by the federal government. NIGP codes are used by states, and Virginia uses it to indicate what goods and or services a company provides. The codes are used when a buyer goes in to post a solicitation in EVA. She has to put in a code, at least one code. Often it'll be more than one code, but she puts in one code. And if you have that particular code as a vendor in your EVA profile, you're going to get an email notice in your own personal account where you have to log in and look at it. And the email will say, the email will come to your whatever email contact you provide. But that email will say, go to your private account, your EVA account, and look at a solicitation. You might want to bid on it because it has the same code on it that you have in your profile. That's a wonderful way for things to come your way. And that's why it's so important for you to spend time to get the right codes in your profile. And then these are other things that how to optimize your browser. And I'm not even sure what that one is. I've never used it. So these are the tabs at the top. And the ones I use the most are, I use a great deal of the NIGP code lookup, this one. And then over under transparency, I use the EVA vendor list. I use public spend reports. Those are ones that are near and dear to most people's heart. So over on the right or the left, if you're a buyer, they have to log in as well. They have their username and password because buyers move from agency to agency. So every time they do, they have to re-register in EVA under a new login. And the same goes for vendors. And you will log into your own account when you want to look at solicitations you might be interested in. So here's the tab for Register Now. If you forgot your username or password here, this is the tab for Get Help on Customer Care. The other one that I want you to pay close attention to is I Sell to Virginia. This is all, remember, on the home page. So there's a whole section dedicated to I Sell to Virginia. There's one I Buy for Virginia. And this talks about what Virginia buys. And other than that, this tab right here, or this block, will go over EVA vendor outreach events. And this has a rotating kind of situation. So it changes from time to time. Here are the mobile apps you can put on your phone. This is the EVA Optimizer. I don't know why that one's there. This one is interesting because this has to do with public local government. So your cities, towns, and counties that use EVA, can EVA be used by them? Yes, it can. And this, if you click on this, there is a directory that will tell you what cities, towns, counties, community service boards, authorities, it's open to all of these people to use. So when you think of selling to the state and using EVA, be mindful of the fact that you could be selling to the city that's in your, wherever your business is located, or the town or the county, the public school system. It could be a number of things, a number of entities that use EVA as their purchasing mechanism. So, and here are a lot of the links that you saw at the top as well. So tools, NIGP code lookup, the EVA vendor list, training. There's some wonderful resources here. What I want to do now is just point out, Tracy, can you tell me again how many people said they were registered in EVA?
Yes, there are 11 people that are registered in
Okay, so not that many. And how many are on board right now? How many are?
There are about 33 online.
Okay, good. Well, a lot of you are not registered then. So let's go to the tab for registering. Now, as I said, buyers have to register too when they change agencies or when they first come on board. But you're going to look under the vendor registration, and this gives you a step-by-step registration quick guide. I think it's about 7 pages, and there are pictures with pointers telling you do this, do that, so forth and so on. Helpful links. This one is the one I want to spend some time on right here. Look up your commodity codes. And then SWAM certification, of course. But let's look at your commodity codes. So let's get that out of the way. Get this out of the way. A lot of people spend a lot of time, in my estimation, going to this search engine and trying to pick just the right word that pertains to their business, whether it be products or services. And this is a very, I would say, elementary coding system. It's very generalized and it's not highly sophisticated. It hasn't been updated since 2011. So 9 years later, we're still using a lot of codes. They have added and deleted some codes that are not being used much anymore, but it needs a complete overhaul in my book. So rather than spend a lot of time, because boy, you can spend a lot of time not finding the right word that you think fits your business, but is not anywhere to be found in this coding system, I like to go over to the section above this bubble with the question mark and download the entire book. This book is about, I think it's 116 pages long. And so the first thing you come to, remember I said they've retired several codes. I don't know why they even put them in there, but they do. And it's replaced, then they show replaced with. But let me say this at the outset, and please internalize this. If you're in a service business, that is, you're not selling any products, or you could be selling products and services, but pertaining to services, it will always, the code will always begin with a 9. All service codes begin with 9. So if it does not begin with a 9, you know right away it's a product. And people will see, because obviously 0 to 8 comes before 9. So you start seeing codes that begin with 0. And you're reading down this code book, not knowing that service codes always begin with a 9. And you see the words air conditioner. And you think, well, I'm an HVAC contractor. So yes, I'll put I sell air conditioners. To the buyer's mind, that says to them, I can walk in a store, go online and order, or I can call them and order an air conditioner. That's what the coding indicates, that you sell products. While you're thinking, well, I install air conditioners, and when I go to a place of business or a home and try to assess what they need, I will go out and purchase the air conditioner from a distributor, and I will bring it to the place where I'm installing it, and that will be the price of that will be folded into my service. So just be aware that if you're in a service business, you're not selling any off-the-shelf items that someone can touch and feel and call you and say, I just want this. I don't want you to install it. I want to buy an air conditioner. You will not, your code will begin with 9 if you're a service. It will begin with 0 to 8 if you're selling a product. So that's the first thing. The next thing is that these codes are in alphabetical order according to their, what we call class or family. So the first family is going to start with A. Automotive, and I'm at the end of the A's because it is in alphabetical order. So this is all automotive, but appliances and equipment, art objects. Then you go to AU, that's automotive, and you got several pages of automotive. These families, and I don't know why they jump to trailers, because I guess that's like a subcontract of automotive. So they put them here. Normally trailers would be down in the T's, but it's here. But these families have a 3-digit root number, all of them. So if you're dealing with construction, I know that construction starts with the 910, 911, 912. I know those are the families of construction. Some are new construction, some are maintenance, and some are old well, no, what's it called? Oh, trades. So trades like you have a man who does drywall or painting or HVAC. Those are trades, mechanical, plumbing, electrical. But each of these has a 3-digit root number. And to get the parent code of this particular family, all you do, or any particular family for that matter, all you do is add 00. This one code right here has the same description as the family description, and it is the mother or the father of all these children. And these are more refined. So you've got automotive shop and related equipment and supplies, but then you drop down to things like brake bench stands, brushes and cleaning compounds. You break it down to the children that would be in this family of automotive supply shop and related equipment and supplies. So if you put the parent code in your profile, there is no need to list any of the children. This will include, if you put a parent code in, it will include any solicitation that comes out for any one of these children. And you have to ask yourself, do I really want to do that? Do I really want to put that I sell barber and beauty shop equipment? And, well, that's not a good one, because supplies really is, you kind of do put the parent code for those, because you probably sell most of those supplies if you're in that business. But let's see. Biochemicals research. Okay. So are you selling blood fractions? Are you selling chemicals? Are you selling culture media? Are you selling all of these, or do you specialize in nutritional chemicals? If you're only selling nutritional chemicals, then you would want to drill down, and put 11550. If you sell all of these different kinds of biochemicals, then yes, put the parent code, because you want to see every solicitation that comes through. And remember, the buyer has to put in a code when she goes and posts a solicitation. We're trying very hard to get the buyers away from using the parent code, because it's too broad and it makes for too many emails going to the wrong people. So we try to get them to drill down and find just the right code. So if they're looking for nutritional chemicals, they would put that in, 11550. If you, as a vendor, sell all of these different biochemicals, you may have 11500 as your code. But remember, I said, if you have any parent code ending in 00, you're going to get a solicitation notice for any email, or any, you're going to get an email solicitation for any solicitation that's out there for any one of the children in that family. So, and here's another one. If you are selling boats, but you're only selling barges, you don't sell any kind of equipment or anything else, you're just selling, well, let's do canoes and kayaks. I'm sorry, that's a better one. So you sell canoes and kayaks, but you're certainly not selling boat vendors or boat ramps or boats or any of these chiller water large flow capacity. You're only selling canoes and kayaks. You would want to put in 12030. However, the buyer could be lazy and doesn't know these codes that well. She's new. She knows that the family for boats is 120, and she knows if she adds 00, she's got the parent code, which will take in every single item in this family. So she says, well, I'm looking for airboats and inflatable boats, but I'm going to put in the parent code for whatever reason. I don't know the codes that well. I don't want to go back and look up what airboats and inflatable boats are. For whatever reason, she's going to put in that parent code, but in the body, the description of what she's looking for, she says airboats and inflatable boats. Well, you as a vendor are going to get that solicitation because you're in the family that she put the parent code for. But you remember, you're only selling canoes and kayaks. And you get this solicitation, you say, why am I getting a solicitation for airboats and inflatable boats? Because she didn't drill down and put that specific code. She wanted to cast a broader net. She was too lazy to go back and look. There could be a myriad of reasons. But nonetheless, even when you drill down and get the codes that you think are most appropriate for your kind of business, you'll still get maverick or, off the wall solicitations because the buyer puts in the parent code, but in the description, she's looking for a child in the same family, but it's a different child from you. So that is in a nutshell, and I'm going to scroll down. If you're in the service business, I happen to know services start on page 80. Let me get you out of the way. Let's see here. Oh, this is the hardest part for me. Well, wait a minute. What's going on? Oh. So, as I said, these are in alphabetical order. So this is page 80. And on the first family is aircraft and airport operations services. The word services in most of these cases will be in the description, but it isn't, for instance, on aerial photography or aerial patrolling or airport runway friction testing, but it is in airport ground handling services. Just be assured that any service business has codes that begin with the digit 9. And the same principles apply that I was just talking about. They all are in alphabetical order. The classes or the families are in alphabetical order. They have that same 3-digit root number. You add 00 to get the parent code. And there will be children. And my advice to you would be, before you sit down to register in EVA, you spend some time going through these codes and writing down the codes and the descriptions next to them. You can abbreviate the description, but you want to know what family they're in, just for your own reminder when you get ready to register. And this is probably, aside from current contact information, this is probably the most important element of your registration in EVA, because it's going to predicate what emails you get for notices of solicitations that you might want to bid on. I'm going to pause here for a minute and ask, is there any way, can I see these people? Can I see faces, Deandra?
Unfortunately, Courtney, not on a webinar. We can't see faces on a webinar.
Okay. Well, can I pause and ask, does anyone have any questions about what we've covered so far? I'd like to kind of ask questions as we go rather than waiting to the end, but while it's fresh in your mind. Does anyone have a question? And I prefer if you would unmute and say it to me.
We do have one question
Okay.
from Deborah. She
Uh-huh.
asked, when you attach documents for SWAM certification, can they be PDFs or must they be scanned documents?
No, they can be PDFs. You just have to save them. What I would advise on that is be sure that you look at the list of documents you're required to submit. And I would save each one separately, because in the list, they give you a list of documents and they're not good about delineating separately, which, for instance, I think item 3 or 4 on that list of documents says we need 3 years of your tax returns. it doesn't tell you that you're going to need to upload each of those years separately. But on the list of documents, when you're filling out your application, if you click next and go to the list you need, you'll see that you need to save each of those income tax returns for each year separately, so that you're not uploading 3 years 3 times, is what I'm saying. I hope that answers the question. It can be PDF, sure.
Thank you, Courtney. Deborah.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Come on, I know somebody's got a question.
So Courtney, I have or allowed people to unmute themselves.
Yeah, I would, it's just easier. I'm not, does anyone have a question? I can't see your face, so you can ask away.
Link to the PDF for the NIGP codes. I believe I found it, but it looks like it's a really old version.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your question. You were cut off. Say that again.
Sure. I was looking for the link to the NIGP codes. The version I have is dated February 2011.
Yeah, that's the newest one, unfortunately. It has not been updated since then.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, they do retire codes and replace them with things, but as I said earlier, I really think they need to do a complete overhaul, but they have not. That's the latest version.
Excellent. Thank you.
We do have a question from Ulta. She said, there was a place to advertise in the website. Can you please go over it one more time?
Yes, I will, certainly. Okay, before I go back, well, let me get back, which is not always easy for me. So if you go to Business Opportunities, VIBE, it's Virginia Information Business Exchange. And you can write your own, you can create right here your own ad. And you can create your profile. So, and you can look at what people have done. This just gives a company's name, and it's, oh, I know that company. In Herndon, Virginia, and it talks about what they are. They've written it up. And this is free. I'm not sure. And I keep needing to ask this question, how long it remains out here. But it's of some time. It's not a day or two. I want to say it's a month or two, but I'm not even sure. So I know that, and there is a write-up. I'm going to show you about a write-up, but there are several companies that utilize it. And why not? It's free. So why wouldn't you use it? This is a fairly new feature. That's why I'm not as familiar with it, but you do your own creating. So you click here, create your ad. It's pretty easy, I think, and then create your profile. Pretty much fill in the blanks. And that is under, let's see, I want to go back. Yeah, it's under Business Opportunities. And I want to show you something else. When you scroll down to this block that says I sell to Virginia, this is our story again. And that's in very short order. But, you know, I would read all of these things. And, you know, as I said, reading these things once it doesn't sink into your brain. It does for the time being. But if you wait 2 or 3 months, it's like starting all over. But what I want to point out is on this page over here on tools, there are a lot of PDFs and even videos that have EVA vendor training to show you how to do different things. So this is what is EVA. This is the EVA overview. It's understanding commodity codes. which I just went over. This is the step-by-step registration, how to receive orders electronically. When you register in EVA, at the end, I think it's at the end, it used to be, they will ask the question, are you also registered in Ariba? That's A-R-I-B-A. Ariba is a company that wrote the software for DGS to enable buyers to receive your, or to send you orders electronically and for you to receive them. If you're not registered in Ariba, you cannot receive the orders electronically, that is by email. You want to do that, and you want to do it at the time you register so that the two accounts are linked. Your Ariba account is linked to your EVA account. So I highly recommend that. It's easy. And another thing you're going to have to do is submit a substitute W-9 form for tax purposes, because EVA does have to report to the IRS, you know, what contracts you've won. And then here's the thing about subcontractor payment reporting. But the ones that are really interesting are find and respond, immediately, I should say, interesting, are find and respond to Virginia business opportunities. So it shows you how to access these VBO opportunities. And it shows you how to submit a bid online, how to respond to a quick quote. And let me just say here, if a solicitation has a value of 100,000 or less, it is what we call a quick quote. A quick quote says, I'm going to put a solicitation out and it has to stay on EVA for a minimum of 3 days, but no longer. Oftentimes they do stay longer because they just do, 2 weeks, a month. But a quick quote is usually quick and dirty. Here's what I need. Here's when I need it. Here are all the specs on it. Please give me your best price. That's a quick quote. You're not writing a proposal. You're not writing up an elaborate bid on a solicitation. You're responding to a quick quote. That's for anything under $100,000. It's unsealed bidding. What we call sealed bidding is for any contract that exceeds the value of $100,000. And for that, we have IFBs, which are invitations for bids. These are different kinds of sealed bids. We have RFPs. Well, that's RFPs, request for proposal, and more. There's several more, and they talk about these all here. Now, I'm sure you've heard these labels put on other things in other kinds of businesses. I'm sure private industry has RFPs. You want to read this, though, because there are certain things that the state does differently from private industry. So you want to familiarize yourself. This is an important one, the Public Reports and Transparency Guide. EVA vendor changes, I hate to tell you, I'm not even sure what that is. So click on it and find out. B2B Connect is business to business connect. Remember, I said to you that any contract exceeding a value of $100,000 requires a subcontracting plan if the prime who wins the contract is not themselves certified. If they're certified as a SWAM small business, we're more than happy for them to have the whole pie. We're delighted. But if they're not eligible, they're too big to be certified as a small business, and even if they are eligible but they're not certified, they still have to have a subcontracting plan whereby a certified small business gets a piece of that pie, some percentage of that contract. And for that purpose, we have a relatively new feature called B2B Connect. So when you see at the top of a solicitation, B2B, you immediately know that that contract is worth more than $100,000. The fact that they put a chance, an opportunity for someone to post a B2B Connect up at the top of the solicitation, says this is more than $100,000 in value. And here is someone who wants to post to the bidder who might not be certified, hey, I'm interested in partnering with you or collaborating with you or subcontracting with you for a portion of this contract. Here are my certifications. I'm small, I'm woman-owned, I'm minority-owned, I'm service disabled. All of those things play into, and then the prime who's bidding knows he has to have a subcontractor who is certified, so he's more than happy to get as many B2B connects as he can, because it gives him a list of people from whom he can subcontract. And he doesn't have to spend a whole lot of time going out on his own looking for it. So these are features you need to read about. And this is the Virginia Information Business Exchange, that advertisement that you can create. This is important too, maintaining your account. And the biggest one is how to add additional payment addresses, how to add and manage users in your account. You may not want but one or maybe two people because you want them highly accountable for whatever they're doing in your account. How to add or delete commodity codes. This is a constant process. You need to tweak your commodity codes. If you're not getting enough solicitations, you need to go back to the drawing boards and maybe add some. Or if you're getting a lot of junk mail, what I call, you might want to delete commodity codes because they're not serving your purposes. And these are all, how to update your address, how to change your contact information. And you should. This is so important. People overlook it. But when you have people in your procurement arena or your procurement section who leave, you need to take them off as users. You need to keep current who the contact is. So these are all very good PDF files that you can read at your leisure. But I'm telling you, it's important to do it. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you about, how are we doing on time? Okay. One thing I wanted to show you about commodity codes. Oftentimes, it's easier, rather than trying to invent the wheel or reinvent the wheel, to go out to transparency and go down to EVA vendor list. And let's say that you're in a business that, let me think about this a second. What I'd like to do is teach you how to take a generic word or term that might be in the title of someone's business and put those generic words in, and it will bring up a whole list of vendors that have those terms in the title of their business. Oftentimes people will name a business for their daughter or themselves or Acme Records, but it doesn't tell you what they do. But many people will put the term, so I'm just trying to think of a good, I do this all the time and I'm going blank. Can someone throw out to me what you do? A generic term that someone might put in the title of their business. Unmute yourself and tell me a term.
Management consulting.
Well, okay, I know that one. That's a very generalized one, but I will do it. I don't like this one, but because it's also a catch-all. It doesn't really tell you what kind of management consulting. But I'm going to put that and look at all the businesses that have that in their title. So what you do, the way I like to drill down on this is, first of all, let's go over to the column that says SWAM type. All right, so OSMW. We used M for minority when we came out first with the SWAM acronym, which is small, minority, and women. So we'd already used the M, we couldn't use that for micro. So we use O for micro, which means other. It's an other designation. So when you see, here's a guy who's micro, small, minority, woman, and service disabled. So let's look at this company, because as I told you, any of these companies can bid on management consulting contracts, but there are very few of them, as you see, that are certified. The buyers are going, if they have their choice between two people who are equally qualified and have an equally competitive price, they're going to go for the one who's certified because they get credit toward their goals with all of these people. Now, I will say this. You do not get credit as a buyer for spending with micro, small, minority, and woman if you buy from this person. The first bucket this goes into, I believe, I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, is minority. Because we get fewer spends with minority-owned companies and women-owned companies. So the credit will only go into one bucket. Here it would go into the minority bucket. If they weren't a minority and they were other, micro, SWAM, and woman-owned, the credit would go into the woman-owned bucket. We have to do it that way because we're trying to get an idea of how much money is spent with these ones that have less money spent with them, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is look at these profiles of these companies, because these others may be getting business because they've been around a long time or because they're excellent at what they do. But the chances of getting some contracts lie with these people who are certified. So I'm going to go over, and to get anyone's profile, you don't have to log in. This is not private information. There is so much public information at your fingertips in EVA. The only thing that's private is your own personal account, and you do have to have a login and a username, a password for that. So we're going to look at this, and the only thing you have to do is click on the vendor's EVA number to the left of their name. So this will bring up, now, she has been certified only since February of this year. And we all know that COVID hit hard in March. So she has not had any contracts yet, but it stands to reason. She is in Northern Virginia, and here are the codes she has. And let's look at these for a minute. Remember I said if you put the parent code in, you do not need to list any of the children, but she does not have the parent code here. And she only lists four children out of that family that probably has 30 or 40 children in it. So this was good. She did that right. But here's one where she didn't do it right. She put in the parent code for 91500, that's communications and media related services. Then she proceeded to add 1, 2, 3, well, just 3. Is it 3? Yeah, no, yeah, 3. So that's not bad. But she didn't need to add that. And that's what adds a lot of redundant information to EVA and makes it top heavy and slow and just doesn't need to be there. I've seen people put the parent code in and then list 55 of the 60 children. That is a crime. And so here she's done 918 consulting services. She didn't need to do that. She should have drilled down and just put the codes, because she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. She's got a lot of them. She but consulting services has a lot, so she would have done better. She should have left the parent code off and just listed these 9 or 10, whatever she's got in here. And she's done that with the others. She didn't put the parent code. I don't know why people aren't informed. They aren't informed. But if you read that section on understanding commodity codes, you should get it. So I want to try to find one that is that has had some contracts. So let's go back to this.
Hey,
Let me-
Courtney.
Uh-huh.
I have one question for you that just came in related, saying from Margaret. I see some companies which are out of state. Is there a preference first to in-state entities?
I wish there were. I really wish there were, but no, we don't have, and I think there should be, but there isn't. I will say this though. There's a preference on who gets certified to this extent. In the beginning of the SWAM set-aside program in 2006, we let anyone get certified from any state. Well, then we started getting complaints from Virginia vendors saying, why are you giving certified status to companies in Florida, California, Texas, Illinois, I believe. There were 14, now there are only 12 states that would not allow Virginia businesses to come into their state and get certified unless they had a physical presence. So what we did in those days, and I've been here that long, I made those phone calls along with the rest of my team. We called all of the 50 states. We were all assigned a certain number of states, and we called their same counterpart agency as ours and said, do you allow Virginia companies to get certified in your state? And some of them said, yes, it's open field. Others said, well, they first have to be certified in their home state, which makes sense. Others said, no, we do not allow. One of them is Washington, D.C. Now here we are touched. Washington is touched by Virginia and Maryland. And they don't allow companies that are headquartered in Virginia or Maryland to come into DC and get certified unless they have a physical presence. So what we did was institute, I think in about 2008, we instituted a policy of reciprocity. So if a state does not allow Virginia companies to come in Texas, Florida, California, there are 12 of them. 2 of them went to their legislatures and got it changed because one of them was West Virginia, and they're so close, you know, down in the southwest part of our state. They do a tremendous amount of business. So they went to their legislature and said, you've got to let other states come into West Virginia and get certified. When they did that, we allowed them to get certified. So to that extent, where there is preference given, well, there's discrimination, if you will. We discriminate between states that will not allow Virginia companies to come in. We don't allow them to come in and participate in the set-asides. But anyone can bid, anyone can register an EVA from any state, regardless of anything. And anyone can bid. So no, right now, there is no preference given to in-state. I would hope that it's an unnamed preference or an unacknowledged preference, because I certainly think we ought to be true to our own vendors. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, let me just try. I'm trying desperately to see if somebody has gotten a contract because I want to show you something. Nope. All right, so they have been certified since 2016. Wow, I don't know why they're, oh, they must have renewed 2019 maybe. Anyway, and they're, so here we are. I don't see any parent codes, but they've got a lot of the children. Wow. You know, I'm of the opinion that you really need to focus on what you want to do. And when I see all this many codes, I think, then I look at their tax returns and say, how much money are they making saying they can do all this, that, and the other? But that's just me. Okay. I'm going to try one more and see. And I happen to know this company, so let's see. Yes, yay. All right, so they've been certified since 2017. When you see over here purchase order dollars, this will give you a listing for the current fiscal year and the past. This is the past fiscal year. Our fiscal year begins July 1 and ends June 30th. So because it ended June 30th of 2020, it's called whatever year a fiscal year ends in is that fiscal year. They have not won any contracts this year. Surprise, surprise. It's been a pretty horrible year all the way around for purchasing. But you can drill down on this amount and see what it was. So from Central State Hospital, here's the purchase order number, and I'm going to show you another report in a minute that will give you the particulars. But so this was for software license renewal or Ethernet gateway, and it gives you the unit price and the total price. And as I say, if you drill down and go to the purchase order, you can find out who the purchasing agent was and their contact information. But I'm going to show you an even better prospecting list, if you will. So do you all get the gist of what I'm doing here? If you can find a good generic term that really focuses in on what you do, like if you do a certain kind of management consulting, I would highly recommend that you narrow it down a little bit. Like here's construction management, and there's some cost management or election management consulting. I mean, if you can narrow it down, it's helpful. And as I say, the first thing you should do is go over and look at the ones who are certified, and then look at their profile to get some idea of codes, because you can say, yeah, that applies to me. No, that doesn't. Yes, no. But at least it's a starting point for you. And then some of these will have contracts, and you can get an idea of what they're doing. There are more certified than I thought. Okay, so that is another way to tackle the NIGP codes. What I want to spend the rest of the time on is these transparency reports. So transparency, hover over public spend reports. This is a list of all the different reports. Remember I said you can get a purchase order view? Now, you have to do a little bit of navigating, and you have to copy down that purchase order number and then go back, and you always have to open these reports. It's kind of cumbersome, but you can put in the either the report or the vendor name, and they give you the format to give it in, and then you can run the report. So that is one report. Went back too far. And then you can see a summary of purchase orders for one vendor. If you knew you had a competitor who's doing a lot of business, you can put their name in and see all the purchase orders they're getting. Here's the one that's really popular. This Who's Buying What I Sell, because it really can create an open prospecting list for you. So we're going to look at NIGP codes. And you always have to pick a specific date. It used to be they only let you put in a quarter's worth of data because it was so long. They've sped it up. They've optimized EVA, if you will, so that now you can get a whole year's worth of data. So I'm going to look at Yeah, we've closed out this fiscal year. So I'm gonna look at fiscal year 2020. And I'm going to take a code that I know off the top of my head. It's for janitorial services. And it ought to be a fairly lengthy report, and you always have to click Run Report. But if you're in data processing or you're in management consulting, you can put in a code. But the trick is you got to learn these codes and use some savvy on what applies best, because it's not an easy, it's an art, not a science. If you lined up 5 buyers and said, what code do you use for management consulting? Whew, I mean, you might get 4 different answers. See how long this is taking? Because it's canvassing every state agency as well as every local agency. And it's going to show you, here's the code, here's the purchasing entity, there's the purchase order, and you can drill down on that. Anything that has a line under it, you can find out this is what a purchase order looks like. And it tells you, contractor shall furnish all the labor, equipment to perform janitorial services, to sanitize and deep clean. Okay. Oh gosh, where do I want to go? I've got this. Okay, wait a minute. All right, here we are. So there are a lot of military fairs, but I mean, whoo, a lot. But the beauty of this report is if you scroll over, it gives you the vendor's name, and JanPro obviously has a contract with them, and they are certified small and woman owned. And here's the service they provided. Here is the unit price, the unit of measure, whether it's hourly or fixed, but it gives the unit price and the line total. So man, they're making some moolah there. Here's the beauty though. You go to the end of this, the far right of this report, and it gives you the buyer's name and their contact, both email and phone number. So if you keep seeing somebody in an area where you know you could serve, you just need to start sending them some marketing material through email, and then maybe follow it up with a phone call and say, we'd like to talk to you about maybe either providing service for you, or, I mean, this is long, lengthy. And this is only 1 page. I mean, this goes on. So here's the Department of Emergency Management. There's several pages to this, I'm sure. But this is a report that I'm trying to see. Yeah, it's one of 37 pages. So you could go through and see every agency that's using janitorial services, who they're using, what they're paying for it, and who the buyer is. And that's true as long as you get the right code that's going to tell you something about the information you want. Now, I've shown you where this report is, but also how to navigate it. But if you forget, go back to those training PDFs, and it says there's transparency and public reports. It shows you how to use all of these. Let's go back to the list. You can find, if you wanted to see how much the state and remember, every local entity that uses EVA, that includes cities, towns, counties, public boards, commissions, authorities, whoever uses EVA, the payments go through EVA. So when you're looking at commodity summary spend at a glance, that means you pick a code and you say, I want to know in this time frame, and you can customize the time frame. You can make it 3 months or 6 months or a year, and it can be a calendar year or a fiscal year. But I want to see how much money is being spent by all the public agencies. that use EVA as their purchasing mechanism. And then if you knew of a business, or if you didn't know of the business, if you just put in the zip code, what businesses are getting orders? And then if you want to search for a vendor, if you are looking to find out what a particular vendor is, what kind of business they're doing with the state, it's wonderful. There is a, commodities summary of purchase orders for one vendor, but you've got to either know that person's EVA vendor number, or you have to put their name in just the way it's listed in EVA. And sometimes they are the craziest. I mean, they will, it'll be a typo and they've left out a space, or they put in a space, or if you don't put an apostrophe and they have one, but you've got to know the name as it is, or it won't come up. That's unfortunate, but it's true. And then these are solicitations for public-private entities that are offered. Are there any questions about the reports? You all are a quiet group. Here's some of the metrics they were talking about. Let's go back for a minute. Let me see if there's, I can't emphasize enough to you how important it is to get registered. And people say to me, well, which should I do first? It really doesn't matter. I will say that when you're certified as a, when you apply for certification, it takes 60 business days, not calendar days. It takes 60 business days from the time we receive a complete application. So that takes out all state holidays. And as you know, we're going into the holiday season, and it takes out all Saturdays and Sundays. So it really equates to at least 90 calendar days. So I would recommend that you get started on that soon. EVA is pretty much, you sit down, but you need to be prepared, as I say, with some good commodity codes. Doesn't have to be all of them, but put 3 or 4 good commodity codes that pertain to what you do in your first registration, well, your only registration, but your first time to put in codes. Then you can go back and tweak them. Remember, there was this, when you go to down here to I Sell to Virginia, and you've got all these tools for EVA vendor training, maintaining your account, how to add or delete commodity codes. So, but when you sit down, you want to come to the table with 3 or 4 good codes. That only takes you about 40, 45 minutes. And then you want to register, remember, in Ariba, A-R-I-B-A. They used to have Ariba down here, and they've done away with it, but it's there. So once you have registered in EVA, you will start receiving notice of solicitations. So that's a good thing. While you're waiting for your SWAM certification, take that time to familiarize yourself with EVA and run these reports. And there's a tremendous capability, and frankly, I shy away from it. It's so powerful. When you go to the VBO, remember I said these are all the open, well, they're open and awarded really, but they list the open ones first. Here's one that's awarded, but they're interspersed, I guess. This must have been awarded recently. But when you go over here for advanced search, there are all kinds of criteria that you can search on. Set-asides. I want to see all the set-asides for micro. I want to see the set-asides for priority. I mean small. Date posted. You can collapse or expand these categories and search on whatever you're looking for. But you need to play with it. I need to play with this one too. I have to tell you, this is fairly new, and you get in a rut. But remember, I said up here, my leads, that's your own private account, my business. These are all opportunities. This is this B2B Connect.
Hey, Courtney, since we are getting closer to 11:30, we have a few questions
Okay.
that have come in. If you want to go over those, I can read those
Sure.
out to you.
Let's do that.
Okay. Are there any codes for personal services such as grooming, beauty, or spa services?
There are. They are under, normally beauty is under a catch-all category. Well, you saw the one for barber supplies and beauty supplies. So if you're looking for services, I think you're going to find it in 961 and 962. I believe I'm right about that. Those are miscellaneous, not otherwise classified, because they're not large enough. They're not enough children in a family to create a whole family for that. However, there could be some under health services, and that would be, remember, starting with 9, go down to the H area. I think it's health. Yes, there are some. I know there are. But look under 961 and 962. Those are miscellaneous, not otherwise classified.
This one comes from Deborah. Since there is a 60-day waiting period after you applied and before your certification.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Deborah. It's 60 business days. I cannot tell you how many people call me at the 60-day mark and say, I put my application in August. It should be done. No, it's 60 business days. Do not forget that. It's not calendar days. It's business days. And we're going into a heavy holiday season where a lot of people take vacation. So even if it's not a holiday, they ain't there. Okay, carry on.
She asks, if you want to add an updated certificate for one that is expired, what's the easiest way to do that?
You have to do it the same way you do when you applied the first time. What happens is we never delete applications, whether they were ever completed or not. So if you were at one time certified, your application is in there. And what you're going to need to do, if you don't know your certification number, you're going to need that, because, and you also need to assure that you have the same tax ID, that you didn't start out as a sole proprietor with your social security number, and now since you expired that certification, you've gone to an LLC or a corporation and you have a tax ID. You've got to have the same tax ID, and you need to know your certification number. When you log in, and if you've never logged in, you can just go on our site for certification and register, and they will give you a login. But when you do, they will ask, have you ever been certified before? And you'll answer yes. And you'll give them your tax ID number if it's the same one. If it's different, you're going to start all over again. And then they'll ask for your certification number. And then it will pop up. Your application will be there and it will pop up, and you go through it line by line and update the information so that it's current, line by line. And then you have to also submit your documentation, same way. The reason being, if you were certified in the past, it used to be a 3-year certification. Thankfully, the General Assembly has now extended it to a 5-year certification. But those time periods are there to ensure that as time goes on, you haven't graduated from the program. So you need to document with your tax returns. What have you made over those last 3 years? Have you outgrown the program? Or if you've grown from, let's say you were micro and now you have 30 employees, you're no longer eligible for micro. So you have to submit those documents whatever the time period is. At present, it's 5 years. So every 5 years, you're going to submit saying, I'm still eligible, and here's the proof. Okay.
Thank you, Courtney. And I understand about the business days and then the processing time.
Okay, good.
All right, Nikki says, is there a way to submit the substitute W-9 form other than fax?
I would think you can email it, but I'm not sure about that, to tell you the truth. Have you looked at that section on W9 on the W9 form? I should look at it. Let me see if I can get back there. Yeah. Wait. Here it is. Let's see what it says. I think it's gonna submission. I don't think, to my knowledge, I can't imagine that you can't email it, but you may not be able to. You may have to fax it. Is that a problem?
Looks like there's an email listed there, CVG.
Where?
Right above the
Oh,
fax
yeah.
number.
Okay. Okay. So you should be able to do it there. I would certainly put a cover letter on it, just to, just to be sure it gets in the right slot. I mean, and with that, put, I guess your EVA, well, you won't have your EVA vendor number, but you'll have your name. So just be sure that you tell them what it goes with.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. What was
11:30.
that? Something came to mind in all this. Oh, gosh, I wanted to tell you, and now it's gone right out of my head. What's the next question?
Well, I was just going to say, since it's 11:30, I just wanted to kind of wrap up for those who had to leave, and then we can finish. We've got a few.
I'm happy to stay on if anyone has a question. And
I have some questions.
okay. If you want to wrap up, Deandra, that's
Yep.
fine. For those who can't stay, I appreciate your being here. And if you have any questions, let me just type in while we're talking. Where do I do that? Oh gosh, where do I put?
You can do it on the chat.
Yeah, I'm looking for the chat.
All right.
Okay, yeah. Is that under participants? No. What's chat under? I'm not familiar with Zoom, you all.
Try Alt-H.
Alt-H. Control-Alt-H. Is that?
It pulled up a chat window for me.
It did? Well, it's not doing it for me.
Did you do H or 8?
Alt-H. Is it 8? Anyway, well, let me just tell you what it is. My name is Courtney Mustin. I can't believe I can't find the chat. This is so stupid.
Courtney, I'll type it in for you.
Okay, so Courtney .Mustin, MUSTIN at sbsd.virginia.gov, G-O-V. And my phone number is, cell number is 804-205-7459.
Okay.
Oh, and of course now I see chat. Oh, well. I am upset. I had something I really wanted to tell you all, and now I just can't remember it. If I think of it, I'll email Tracy. Oh, Tracy, do you still have the PowerPoint that I sent for the first session?
Yes.
Could you maybe send that out if people want it? Because it has a lot of what I talked about today.
Sure, I'll make sure that the follow-up email includes that.
Okay, that would be good. Thank you.
Courtney?
Well, I've enjoyed it. I hate not being able to see people.
Courtney?
But yes.
Hi, I was curious about the designation I understand for small business and micro, it's a question of employees and sales,
Uh-huh.
but I am a 50-50 partner with my brother, and I wonder all the classifications for women or service disabled.
Uh-huh.
I would be excluded from either one of those because I'm only 50 instead of 51%.
You must be at least 51% owner.
Same thing for service disabled.
Well, you wouldn't even get, let's see, let me think about that. Yeah, I think that, I'm sure that you have to be at least 51% owned. I would think that it says that on our website under, let me look and see if I can. If it will come up. So if you go to our certification division, and the types are service disabled veteran. I'm not sure it says it here, but I'm almost positive that that would be the case, because 50-50 never indicates that you're the owner. It indicates that you are a co-owner. But you would qualify as small. You wouldn't qualify as woman-owned, but with the small designation, you could get service disabled. But I'm almost positive. I will check on that. If you can put your name in the chat, or you could email me. Why don't you do that? Email me and just give me your email address. I'll find out. But I'm quite certain that you have to be 51% owner. I could be wrong. That's why I'm getting your email.
Yeah, I think I'm qualified for the micro and small.
Yes,
And
you would be.
I'm typing an email to you right now.
Okay, good enough. What's your name?
My name is Pamela Pitkin, Pitkin.
Okay, Pamela. All right.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your webinars, Zoom calls. They are so informative and easy to follow. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I try to be very basic.
Courtney?
Uh-huh. I can barely hear you.
This is Angela Freeman.
Uh-huh.
And I'm looking for codes for career coaching.
That's a new one. You know, that 2011 deal is right hard. Career coaching is one, but here's the thing. I wish you'd spoken up during the meeting, because let me see if I can get back to that search engine. That would be one definitely where you should have put in, I don't know where my search, here we go. Let's go up here and put the words career coaching in here. This is one I don't want to reinvent because I have no idea where to start. Oops. Let's see if it, well, it pulled up too. Let me get these out of the way. So career and happy. I don't know about that. I'd like to know that one. Let's see what they've got in there. And they're not certified, but they've got, at least you could jot down vocational training. I mean, that's not, see, that's, as I say, it doesn't really apply. It kind of sounds like it does, kind of, sort of. But I would put these down and think about them. Think if there's a way. And again, you know, I have a good friend who's been with the state for a long time, and she was one of the main programmers for EVA. And before she left, I said, Gail, I want you to sit down with me and walk through some things that I'm not as familiar with, because you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So we had 2 sessions, and she said, and I knew this, but it's true. She said, Courtney, the vendors don't take the time to get into the heads of the buyers. And every buyer has a personality, has a preference, has a penchant. And this really, the coding system is an art, not a science. of course, it's pretty cut and dried for janitorial services. We really only have one code for that. But when you get into career coaching, you really can turn that ball around and think about it a lot. So that's why I like to look at some of these. But you see that you could look in maybe 918, which is consulting, and 924, I'm not even sure what that is, 952. At least look in these families and look, and then let's go back.
Yeah, can we look at the second one? Might be a little better.
Yeah. Okay. And neither one of them is SWAM certified. Ah, look at this. I wish this is good training. And I always try to show one of these. But if you see in red, no commodity codes for this vendor, you go up here and you say, how were they entered? It'll either say state entered or self entered. If a state buyer is looking for something from you and she didn't order from them, but she may have called them and said, ooh, this sounds like something I might want to employ her services for. The next question from the buyer is, are you registered in EVA? And this lady says, what's EVA? And the buyer's rolling her eyes at her desk and saying, just let me enter you. It's a lot faster. I'll know it's been done. I don't have to wait and depend on you to do it. So she enters her and she gets all the basic information, her name, her company name, her contact information. Well, she didn't get any, but she got a number, and their headquarters and so forth and so on. Do you think that buyer cares about commodity codes for this vendor? For this vendor to get future solicitations?
Not
No.
gonna do the work for her.
So if you see state entered, and most of the time when you see state entered, you'll see some purchase over here. They found out about them either through a magazine, a newspaper ad, something online, and they bought from them. But they had to enter them while they were sitting there on the phone. So she's not going to say, let me take 20 or 30 minutes and let's go through the coding system with her. They're not going to do that. And this poor person was just hoping for an order. She doesn't understand how EVA works. So she doesn't even know to go now and look up codes and add them.
Thank you.
Yep. But, if you don't do career coaching, let's just go back and just put the word coaching. Because some people won't limit it to, I know there are ones in here for coaching. Hold on. Oh, shoot, hold on. Life coaching. That leadership coaching. So see, you've got quite a few to choose from here. And what I would do is find one if it has something to do with your career, or it sounds like career. And I would think that a lot of these have something to do with career. I mean, life coaching has to do with your career. But first thing I would do is go over and pick out the ones that are certified and look at their profiles. That's not to say these other ones are not, don't have good codes, but it's just a way, because you can see if they've gotten any business as well. And I can guarantee you that dollar for dollar, they're going to go with somebody who's certified if they can, because they want the credit toward their aspirational goals. Does that help?
Very good. Thank you so much.
Sure. Anything else? Deandra?
Yes, we have a couple other questions here.
Okay. Fire away.
Will virtual office count as physical presence in a state outside of Virginia, like Texas?
All right. So are you saying that you are headquartered in Texas and you have a virtual office in Virginia? Is that, I'm not understanding what the particulars are.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they are still on the
On the
webinar.
line?
Yeah.
Normally, a virtual office does not apply. In other words, I used to work up in Northern Virginia, and we had a company that was headquartered in DC, but they had a virtual office in McLean. And a virtual office, you're not holding any records there. You're having meetings there. And you're not really, your paperwork, any of the guts of your business are either held at home or at an office in DC. So no, that wouldn't qualify, if that's the question. I don't know if they're saying they have a virtual office in Texas, though. I'm not sure what they mean by that question.
Okay. This one is it smarter to work as a subcontractor first for another company to get a government contract, or develop first on your own to get the required number of years in business to be SWAM certified?
Well, you don't have to have any required numbers of years to be SWAM certified. We certify startup businesses. You can just have gotten your tax ID number from the IRS, and you can just have filed your corporation papers with the SEC. Not even if you're a sole proprietor. And you use your social security number, we highly advise against that. But you can get certified the day after you start a business. So the rest of it is, it all depends. If you get a good subcontractor who will pay you on time, who doesn't, mess around with you and try to keep making you do things before they'll pay you, you have to know who you're subcontracting with. Some of them are good and some of them are not so good. If you're brand new, if you don't have a lot of depth, that is people and capital, then yes, I would say it's better to subcontract, because for one thing, the liability is not on you. For whatever portion, that prime contractor is taking the liability. The contract is between the state and the prime. So if you screw up, it won't create good relations between you and the subcontractor. But sometimes that's a whole lot less consequential than it is with the state. The state's pretty good taskmaster when it comes to prime contracts. You better deliver or you'll be in default. And that's not good.
All right.
That's I can do.
And our next question, what percentage of government contracts are not solicited through EVA?
That would be a hard one everything, they're not necessarily posted in EVA. I know that VITA, the Virginia Information Technologies Agency, sometimes those solicitations never see the light of day in EVA. Oh, and the other thing is, this is a big one, and I didn't mention this. If a contract, and we consider purchase orders just strict, here's what I need, and here's when I need it, those quick quotes. Those are just considered purchase orders sometimes. There's no elaborate contract written, but that is a contract. There has to be money that exchanges hands and an agreement. So if a contract has a value less than $10,000, it does not have to be posted in EVA. That is, it doesn't have to be competed. If it's less than $10,000, a buyer can pick up the phone and get one quote. And they're probably going to call a certified SWAM or micro business for that quote. And it's incumbent upon that buyer to know what the fair market value for that good or that service is. I neglected to say one other thing, and this is important, but nobody ever says it. I'm the only person who ever mentions it. We do have a law on the books now in Virginia, was passed by the General Assembly, saying that if a business is certified and it's competing against a business that's not certified, the price for the good or the service from the certified vendor cannot exceed 5% more than the uncertified bidder. In other words, you can't go with a SWAM certified business for any price. You can't go for it. You're not supposed to go for it, I'll say. If it's 6% over the lowest responsive and responsible bid, that means someone who can do the job and can do it well. So that's a big sticking point for me and for vendors. We're trying to get it increased, but we haven't had a lot of success. So there is only a 5% leeway in price, no more than 5% for a certified business. But going back to what percentage of purchases, read that question to me one more time, Deandra, please.
Sure. Let me pull it back up here. What percentage of government contracts are not solicited through EVA?
Okay, that person knew their onions, because, as I say, any solicitation under $10,000 does not need to be solicited through EVA. Everything has to go through EVA for payment. So it will go on the books, and just because it's under $10,000, you're not exempt from paying that 1%. So the payments all go through EVA. The purchase orders all go through EVA. But the solicitation does not have to be in EVA unless it's over a value of $10,000. What percentage that is high, but I can't quote it to you. And that's why they increased it. It used to be only $5,000, but they increased it to $10,000 that didn't have to be posted in EVA, because we have so many of those purchases that buyers were spending so much time writing up those purchases between $5,000 and $10,000 to go on EVA. So they increased it to $10,000. It's a high percentage. I can't quote what it is.
We had one that just came in from Margaret.
Okay.
Are there audits performed to ensure that there is compliance with that 5% law, or is it up to the small business to challenge or protest? Also, what is the process to challenge or protest, and is that covered?
Wow. Is Margaret a lawyer? That's a great question. And I owned 3 businesses of my own. I was certified for years. I owned my companies in the 90s and the early 2000s. And that was always a huge thing. I lost a business because there was no compliance in these set-aside programs. Yes, they are audited, Margaret, and they're supposed to be audited once a year. But as always, we're shorthanded, and during COVID, I only can imagine what's going on. But normally a team from the Inspector General's office or the auditing office comes in and used to go randomly, manually through solicitations. Now I'm sure it's electronic. But they would pour over them and ask every question. And it is being audited, but I think that's one of the weakest points in this whole program, as it always is. And even if there is compliance, even if they're found out, the question is it enforced? Are they taken to task for not doing what they're supposed to? They are audited for sure. And I can tell you from my own experience, I started with the state in 2006 after I sold one of my businesses and closed another, and as I say, had lost another. And the lost one was a huge chunk because I was a subcontractor, and that subcontractor really did a number on me. They were highly unethical, and I couldn't get anybody to comply. This was a federal government contract. But at any rate, when I first came here, because I had been so injured by lack of compliance. That was a big sticking point for me, and it still is. But I think compliance is always the weakest thing. I mean, the governor can stand in front of cameras, or any politician can stand in front of cameras and say, look what we're doing for small business in Virginia. And it has been, I was going to say, it's been a tremendous transformation. People, buyers have really jumped on board. And a lot of it is the threat of compliance more than it is the actual compliance. But they've clamped down so much more than they were in the beginning. I mean, they've just learned to tighten up the loopholes. And I can say that I've seen tremendous progress. I truly have. And it's heartening. I do think that each governor I've seen has really had the best interests of small business at heart. But it's good for the state. It's good for all business if small businesses thrive and survive. So that's my answer.
And Margaret says she's an alternative dispute resolution practitioner with a master's in business and commercial law.
I was going to say she knows something.
Not a lawyer.
More than the average bear.
All right. Well, if there are no more questions, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, Courtney, for spending so much time with us and answering.
I
And
enjoyed it.
this was a
I
great
enjoyed
session. Yeah, definitely.
I'm so glad. And Pamela Pitkin, I will get back to you.
I
All
did put the survey in the chat box, but you guys will also receive it via email. So if you want to help us out, just fill out the survey for us. And then, of course, you can find out more information about the upcoming training sessions throughout the state on virginiaspdc.org. You can also find the business recovery webpage.
Hold on a minute. I
Sure.
know I finally thought of what I wanted to talk about, and I really wanted to talk about this at the outset. I hope that each of you is aware that Virginia has been given a $70 million grant fund from the federal government. And we are in the process of dispersing and deploying that money, and we've got still a lot of money available. So if you're interested, you can get at this point right now, and I think this is going to change, but right now, you're eligible for $10,000 of grant money. This is not, you don't have to pay it back, but it's highly specialized as to the categories of businesses that suffered greatly during COVID. And so I tell you to go to the governor's website, and it's Rebuild Virginia. Oh, what is that website? Hold on a minute.
You can just search for Rebuild Virginia for Governor Northam and it pops right up. It's really easy.
Yeah. Rebuild Virginia and Governor Northam. Yeah. Please go and read this. And if you are eligible, so many people want to believe they're eligible, and unfortunately they're not, but there are some guidelines. Oh, don't want that.
We put it in the chat, Courtney.
Okay, good. That is, I cannot believe I didn't start my conversation with that point, because it's there, ready for the taking. So please go and look at the categories of eligibility and apply if you can.
Hey, Courtney.
Uh-huh.
That was actually updated from before. When it first came out, I wasn't eligible because I received part of the CARES Act.
Right, and we have updated that. I fought hard for that, Margaret.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope you got some money.
Well, this is Pamela, and I have put it in. I'm just waiting to hear back.
Good.
I did have a question on the microloan, though.
Okay.
That looks like we're still prohibited if we receive part of the RISE grant. Is that going to be changed, or are we still excluded?
I'm not familiar with that, but I can tell you who is. Linda Tackett is. I'm not, we have a division called the Virginia Small Business Financing Authority. And I am actually helping with the Rebuild loan because we're shorthanded, but, and I'm learning as I go. I'm not familiar with the microloan and whether or not it is impacted by the RISE fund. So, but Linda, Linda dot Tackett, TACKETT, at the same address as mine, sbsd.virginia spelled out .gov. Linda will, she's a regional lending officer. She's been there the longest and she's crackerjack and she'll get back to you. So email her and ask her.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh. Anything else? Well, I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions or comments, by all means, contact me.
All right, I think that's pretty much it. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to email me or email Virginia SBDC and go to our webpage and search out your local office. Thank you guys. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, Deandra. You did great.
Thank you.
I'll
All
talk
right.
to you.
We'll see you
Bye-bye.
guys next time. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.